So we're on to our new topic, which is going to be plants. So take a look through the following slides, make notes as you wish, pause, and then answer the questions at the end.
Hello, welcome to my back garden. As we're going to be stuck in for the foreseeable, I thought we'd look at plants from this perspective rather than just from PowerPoints. But so in my back garden at the moment, we're just setting up for the back end of spring and hoping that we'll have a good colourful summer to come. But at the moment I've got a fig tree that I've just got potted there alongside my olive tree. This is a very sunny spot, south facing, sun right up ahead of me at the moment. So I'm hoping we'll see a bit of development there over the coming weeks as we discuss such things as plant transport and germination and photosynthesis, of course, which is probably a good place to start, and leaf structure, and where do the plants get all their energy from and how do they develop in the way that they do. That's what we're going to be looking at, and hopefully we'll have some fun along the way.
And so what we want you to get out of this lesson then, the learning intentions. So to take an overview of photosynthesis, there are a number of things on this diagram that you should be able to think about. This word photo comes from the Greek, meaning light. Synthesis, making stuff. So, making stuff using light. That's what photosynthesis is all about. So now have a think about what stuff is being made and what stuff is being used. In other words, what are the reactants, what's coming together, and what are the products, what are the results of photosynthesis? You should be able to know about that and think about what's going to go alongside each arrow. So there we have it. In essence, that's the word equation for photosynthesis. Water plus carbon dioxide gives glucose plus oxygen. So recapping the word equation for photosynthesis. And to highlight beyond the simple reactants, what else we need to make this happen. And key to that is going to be the energy supply, which is light. And within the chloroplasts, there is a certain pigment called chlorophyll, which is an absolute requirement for photosynthesis to take place. So then we should add these to the word equation, light above the arrow and chlorophyll below the arrow. If you can, write the balance symbol equation underneath the word equation. Okay, we'll go through these later. Well, looking at the overall structure of the leaf here, I'm going to just quickly annotate some of these features in addition to the waxy cuticle that you see at the top. First of all, starting off with the upper epidermis, the palisade layer, the spongy mesophyll layer, and the lower epidermis. Within the palisade layer, you have the palisade cells, which contain the greatest density of chloroplasts. slightly less density of chloroplasts in the spongy mesophyll cells, but they are there, as they are down the bottom in the lower epidermis. And you can also see in the lower epidermis stoma and guard cells, which effectively guard the entrance to the stoma. Now, the guard cells, when water is present, they swell up and allow an opening. I'll show you on a slide what a stoma looks like on a microscopic slide towards the end. But it allows gases to enter and exit the leaf. There are some stoma on the top, not shown on this diagram because they're fewer in number on the upper epidermis, but they do exist. And if you look at a leaf under a microscope, you can usually see them quite clearly. Also labelled at the top there is the waxy cuticle. Now that layer is there to prevent water loss effectively, because water can evaporate through the leaf and dry out much more if it didn't have that waxy cuticle and haven't taken the trouble to get water to the leaf through the veins, which incidentally also aren't actually shown on this. We'll come to that in another lesson where we look at the xylem supply and the phloem, which is effectively the transport system to the leaf organs from the roots and back to other areas of the plant, the phloem. That's going to be part of another lesson. But here for this lesson, the overall structure of the leaf organ, which is primarily responsible for photosynthesis, and which you need to get your head around and just know the parts and know what each part does. And just looking at that again, that palisade layer at the top, I've tried to emphasize that the density of chloroplasts are greatest because if you think about it, the light is coming usually from the top onto the top surface of the leaf. It will penetrate the upper epidermis into that palisade layer. So therefore, the greatest proportion of chlorophyll within the chloroplasts will be required to harness that energy from sunlight. Also, the other part, so that's energy. That's the energy part, the sunlight energy that we were talking about. But we also know we need the chlorophyll. But apart from the sunlight energy and the chlorophyll, which is involved, we also need the raw materials. The water, as we've mentioned, is supplied through the xylem vessels that will be supplied to all the cells. But also we need to get the gases in, like carbon dioxide. Now, carbon dioxide needs to get in through the stoma. Now, there's probably about 0.04% carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It's just enough to keep plants ticking over and to bring it into the leaf and be utilized. But it needs that constant supply. And you notice within the spongy mesophyll, there's a lot of gaps. Unlike the palisade layer, which the cells are quite tightly packed together, the spongy mesophyll is different in that those gaps between the cells allow a much greater freedom of movement between the cells for the gases. So not only can you get the carbon dioxide in, but the oxygen that is the waste product of photosynthesis produced by that densely packed palisade layer can diffuse out. So you've got the route in for carbon dioxide and a route out for oxygen. Now, the movement of oxygen and carbon dioxide is hinted at for the moment, because I'm going to ask you a question about that, by these arrows in the diagram. So if you think back to what I was saying on the previous slide, you should be able to associate the movement of these gases, which we refer to as gas exchange. Similar to the lungs in many ways, only in reverse. Lungs, you want oxygen and you want to get rid of carbon dioxide, but that's a little bit of a hint about what you should be putting here. So I'll give you time to think about this and leave it with you, and I'll put the answers on OneNote. Okay, to finish up, I'd like to see you produce your own summary using previous information from the slides and the structures, the different parts of the leaf, the layers, and the gaps, the stoma, the mesophyll. Put your own ideas together with this and get some key. You should probably think of it as like a 10 marker, so like a 10-minute exercise. Summarize what photosynthesis and gas exchange is about here. Do some reading on it and see what you can come up with. Bye for now.